All right. Does anyone have anything else they want to speak about or bring into the conversation? I think we exhausted the China topic.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of curious about what you guys think regarding Battle Royale.
I like Battle Royale.
Because we just had Black Ops 4 come out with Blackout, and that was, a $60 game coming out and replacing campaign with Battle Royale. We've got Battlefield 5 that I believe it's releasing as separate from the game, and it's going to be free, or at least purchased separately.
I think is it free? Is it its own game? I thought it was just going to come down the line of... Yeah, you should look it up.
I'm curious if it's going to be like a Fortnite kind of model.
Because I thought it was like an update. Like, after September, you all have the Fortnite mode, the Battle Royale mode added to the game.
Yeah, I didn't mean standalone as separate from the game, just it's a mode that will not be in the base game at launch.
Yeah, that's what my understanding is.
The only area I'm unclear about is whether you can get it separate from Battlefield 5.
I think I can see them trying to possibly sell it as its own thing. Maybe incorporating more of a Fortnite type of microtransaction system to offset the costs. But aside from that, what else? We have, I guess, 2.5 years or 2 years of Battle Royale being a thing, and it's kind of taken over the game industry in a lot of ways. Do you guys have any thoughts on like its future, where it's going?
I think to know where Battle Royale is going, you need to know why PUBG died.
To be fair, is PUBG actually dead?
No, but compared to its previous numbers, it's not even close. And in terms of growth, it's also dying. So no, in terms of it's still got more than like 10,000 people playing it, so it's still more popular than most games in the world. But compared to its previous numbers, it's fallen pretty far.
That's true.
I mean, Brian and I played it a lot, and I think we complain about a lot of the same things, where the updating and the basically the really poor technical quality.
Graphics. Network is a huge part. Oh my god. Party making, matchmaking.
How everything is such a chore and is always has a potential of just breaking on you. Has been a big issue with PUBG in general. It's interesting because when you compare the experience of playing that in Fortnite, you'd think that Fortnite came out maybe a year or two before.
I think the logic that PUBG Core pushed against Epic Games helped kill PUBG's popularity.
Most of the players didn't care.
Really?
I think that just looks bad.
Yeah,
it's one of those things that just
made him look really bad. I mean, they even pulled out from that lawsuit.
When you can't win, it's just cost prohibitive at that point with lawyers. But I think the bigger
owned by the same company. I think that was the reason they stopped. Tencent.
Yeah, there's owned and then there's shareholding. But anyway, the bigger difference between the two is the cost, the value proposition. Because Fortnite, you have a free game, whereas PUBG, is it 15 or 30 right now?
Still 30, I think.
Then I guess 15 was when it was in early access. But so you have people paying for it and getting an inferior product compared to Fortnite. At least in terms of things like networking and how often it's updated. And that's going to be a problem for retaining your user base. Because it's not that they didn't have comparable numbers at one point, they absolutely did. It's that PUBG started losing its numbers much more quickly than Fortnite. Meanwhile, Fortnite was gaining players much faster than PUBG.
I also see a bit of a standard, like a change in. I think it's players are adopting to the best piece of value proposition. I think that's right. The best valued experience, which I would still say would be Fortnite. It's a free game and you have free updates. You can put in as much money as you want. Nothing changes, and they're very responsive. I feel in terms of updating the game or hearing back to players' feedback. I think right now that part, responding to player feedback and player concern, was another big issue with PUBG. It just seemed like a lot of the complaints were unheard when PUBG was talking about, hey, we can't do this. There's no, our animations have some issues with this, or this would just break the game straight up. I feel, in terms of Battle Royale moving forward, I think that might be almost more important, because as we can see, we have I think the next big, I would say the next big game out there that is Battle Royale is Blackout, Call of Duty, and I think they have a better, Treyarch has a really good reputation already, and they seem to be open from the beta that came out earlier. They seem to be open to play with the formula and also listen to player feedback. I think this almost goes into the topic of how game development is becoming more iterative just on the release itself.
Games as a platform.
Yeah, that's the term.
I'm honestly a little curious about how COD Blackout is going to continue developing. Like, as someone who plays the game itself, I enjoy the game. It has a very different feel from PUBG. It's a much faster game mode. It doesn't give the same feel as PUBG. Like, the thing that I liked about PUBG, Christian, you'll probably be able to attest to this, is the intense, quiet silence that you get from PUBG. You have a huge 8km by 8km map, and you don't know where people are coming from. You don't know when you're gonna get into situations or conflict next. You're just hoping that you're gonna be on the good side of the circle, or that you find good loot. You don't know where shots come from, and you're always just scared of what's around the corner. Like, that's one thing I really liked about PUBG, and how it it was a game that just really screws you over.
Yeah, I think all the current battle royales differentiate themselves pretty distinctly by targeting different user experiences.
Exactly.
Fortnite has building, it's a little wackier, it's got more of a colorful scheme. PUBG focuses on an oppressive atmosphere that's a little closer to realism in terms of bullet damage and health. Blackout focuses on more enjoyable gunplay at the cost of that oppressive realism. And then Battlefield's version, Burning Flame or whatever it's called, will have vehicles. And unlike with... Yeah, or at least every squad does, I believe.
Right.
But do you think that... I want to ask this question. Do you think that Battlefield 5 having kind of similar realism or striving to be realistic, do you think that could possibly take another hit away from PUBG? Because it has a lot of, I would say, similar aspects. You have to consider your location. I think audio is another be a big part of just like hearing where shots are going to be coming from. Again, we haven't seen the actual mode yet, so I'm really just speculating here. But because they kind of branch into the similar realism, I wouldn't say sim, but they're on the same side of that line. Do you think that version could possibly take away more from PUBG?
If it's free, then it'll be the last nail in the coffin. If not, then the price difference will be too much to put a big impact on PUBG's current player base.
So, okay.
Let's make sure there's a clear distinction here. Everything has vehicles. There's a difference between having vehicles on the map, like the current installments do, and every squad having a vehicle, like Battlefield 5 will have.
Oh, what do you mean by that, then?
Well, okay, take Blackout, for example.
Yeah.
Every squad does not have a helicopter, but helicopters exist in the game.
Right.
That is very different from having the design of each and every match, having each squad have a vehicle.
Oh. Oh shoot, is that okay, by the way, so Battlefield 5 Battle Royale mode is called Firestorm, and it is, so the Battle Royale mode, as far as we understand right now, will be released post launch and is a free DLC. It's not a separate free game mode as of yet. From what I'm reading right now, we don't know if executives will change that decision to make it similar to Fortnite later on, but sorry.
Yeah, no, it's good to clarify all that. So that being the case, I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on PUBG's player base.
Oh, also to clarify, apparently Firestorm supports 16 teams of 4.
Yes.
So that's gonna be interesting. And there's no mention of whether solo play is possible or not.
I think they can handle solo play. They've already had
matchmake you into squads.
Yeah. I guess another question to have is, do you think there's anything they could take the space of PUBG, because we see all this experience? Well, we know it's having, like, it's just not a good product.
Actually, Ring of Elysium, new game that
I've
came
heard
out
of that
last
one.
month. Some of my friends are playing it.
Can you explain what that? Because I haven't played it. Can you actually give me some details about what it's like and how it's different?
Oh my goodness, dude! Ring of Elysium looks just like PUBG, except it's on a snow map. The characters move just like PUBG. The characters look just like, like the pretty looking characters from PUBG. They look like Korean design looking characters. There's guns that you carry 2 guns. There's all the keyboard shortcuts are pretty much the same as PUBG. There's vehicles. They added snowboarding. They added paragliding. They added rock climbing. And instead of so here's the thing: instead of a circle, slowly decreasing an area circle that encapsulates the players, now you get zones that get taken over by Emir, which is this ice or this snowstorm that will damage you as time goes on. So it actually has a good narrative explanation for why you want to stay inside the safe zones.
Oh, I didn't know the storm was named after a frost giant.
Interesting.
I like that. Is YMIR.
Yes, YMIR. Yes.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know it was named that.
I mean, yeah. It's also free to play on Steam.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not good.
I mean,
well, for me,
when I jumped into it, it was actually really, really surprising how similar to PUBG it was.
But so we see it has this weird. It seems to have some abilities where it's like you said, snowboarding, rock climbing. I think I remember seeing a video of guys paragliding. Yeah.
So it's really interesting. Like I've only jumped into a few games, but there are abilities in like just movement abilities that you can utilize at as points in the game. I mean, it's not like blackout abilities where they give you like advantages over other players. It's just movement kind of abilities, which is really interesting.
Do you think that's enough, or what? I can see that being a nice like change of this, like the formula. But is there anything else that really sticks out?
Nothing. Well, here's the thing. There's nothing that really sticks out in the game that makes it better than PUBG, other than the free price tag.
And that's the problem. So I looked up the current player counts. PUBG has been losing players on Steam ever since January of this year. In January of 2018, they had 1.58 million average players, and as of the last 30 days, they're right about 457,000. Meanwhile, Fortnite, and even if that's not all the total players, that's still a reflection of the player base, whereas Fortnite has grown by literally dozens of millions of players in that same time span. And meanwhile, if you look at Ring of Elysium, it is currently sitting around 16,000 average players per day. It doesn't even come close to scratching PUBG. So to answer your question of replacing PUBG, while it is dying/dead, it's still big enough that unless something comes out that scratches that itch, but clearly unseats it, it will keep hanging around like a bad headache.
It might be one of those cases of, what is it, first entry advantage? I butchered that term. But the first into the market just is at an advantage over everyone else that comes afterwards.
To be fair though, Christian, PUBG was not the first one in the market. You had H1Z1, and what was H1Z1's bad twin?
There are a few things that could fit that description.
DayZ?
DayZ.
I mean, DayZ came out before it, if you count it as coming out.
I mean, I'm talking about I'm talking about the, well, I know that Brendan Green worked on 2 Battle Royale games before jumping onto PUBG.
Well, I guess the reason I bring it up is that it was the first one to take off. Is more what I mean. I mean, it did asking
a
the
lot
wrong
of things
question.
very well. It did a lot of things very, very well when it came out. That other games did not exactly didn't really capture too well.
Right. So do you think maybe I'm trying to ask a different question here? In the future, we'll see that we'll have the kind of more console-focused stuff. I would say it's like the Call of Duty, maybe Battlefield. What is it? Battle Royale games. We have Fortnite.
Oh, that's right.
We still have PUBG.
Chinese martial arts one.
Wait, what?
There's a Chinese martial arts Battle Royale game coming out. I need to find the name.
What? So you beat each other up?
Yes. Swordman X. Dom, have you heard of this one?
Yeah.
Swordman X combines Chinese wuxia martial arts. I hope I'm not butchering that. With battle.
Wuxia, yeah.
Wuxia with Battle Royale.
I read that genre of light novels.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm basically waiting to see if it gets a decent amount of players before caring about it. Because it has, so for those who aren't aware, so Wuxia, WUXIA, is this martial arts / fantasy genre, originally from China, but you could say it's inspired from all different kinds of places around the world. And it's based around this idea that, okay, you've got these fancy martial arts moves, you've got these fancy styles of magic, and all of these take place within the same kind of reality. And humans can, usually the conceit is that humans can be the same as vanilla mortals, you know, how we really are, all the way up to basically gods. So there's plenty of people in China looking for a game like this. It's just whether it can actually tap into that market.
Right. It seems like because combat style is so different, it might be its own thing.
I mean, it's all melee. Well, primarily melee.
Right. I'm trying to think of this just makes me think of MMOs that are more kind of action based. There were some. I was watching that video I sent you about tab action MMOs versus tab like combat, and how it just kind of looks like in that you'd see people just kind of fighting in groups, ganging up on each other. I don't know. I'm trying to imagine how this would work. I'm just thinking of it maybe being so different from traditional battle royale. It could just be its own thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I should say, like, I am the first person that would love to see it succeed, or at least a game like that succeed. All of my skepticism just comes from understanding how challenging how challenging it is to surmount that initial hurdle of gaining your audience. Because there's no MMO / battle royale martial arts, game that they can steal people from.
Well, For Honor, maybe.
For Honor is not even close to an MMO or a battle royale game, and it also doesn't have enough people for them to tap into that. For Honor's a game I would love to chat about, but I don't think it belongs in the Swordsman X conversation. Because I love that game, so.
But
Do you guys want to move on from Battle Royale?
Well, actually, one more Battle Royale topic, Spellbreak. The magic / wizards. Let me see if I can find a good description for this. a new battle royale RPG featuring epic magic combat, weave spectacular spell combinations, craft strategic builds in your quest for survival.
So is it still battle royale in that it's just 100 people fighting against each other, but instead of
With
Restart this
guns,
video, I wanna-
with magic? But are they still kind of searching and looking for items? Is there like a map that's shrinking?
There's a map that's shrinking, as I understand. Not sure about picking up items and spells though.
Okay. That kind of seems just like a very large, I guess, class-based shooter.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Which isn't bad if it can get an audience. I guess for me, I still really like the part of searching, like landing on a space and searching for items. As I still think that's kind of core part of the battle royale genre. But then again, maybe moving away from that could lead to even better experiences that I just can't think of.
Yeah, the best thing I think Spellbreak has going for it is its art style.
I'm curious, Christian, do you feel why do you feel you like that? Like having to look for stuff? Is it because you like gambling?
I wouldn't say gambling. I guess.
Do you like that element of random, like randomly getting things to give yourself an advantage?
I think it's kind of what we mentioned, the loot drop thing. I kind of like finding items. When I find good armor, there's like this kind of dopamine that hits me, and I'm like, oh, sweet, yes, like I'm set. It is a bit of randomness. You're right, that is a piece. I think for me, I like the hunt for items, and how that can create some stressful scenarios when everyone is just in the beginning looking for just anything, a weapon. Someone with nobody uses melee usually. If someone gets like a machete, the person has it's still struggling to find something. Yeah, I think that is always like an interesting part, or even baiting in some cases, playing with that system.
I love baiting. So good.
Yeah, so my favorite part of items, especially in terms of Battle Royale, is in Battle Royale you're playing on the same map. So for someone like me who loves level design and loves experiencing different maps, it can get old relatively quickly. Whereas item placements dictate so many things, like where you fight on the map, like the areas that are important to you. To me at least, any battle royale that wants to get rid of them needs to find a way to solve that problem, or at least have something in that kind of capacity, making it interesting, because otherwise people are going to get bored of a single map fast.
I think that's a really good description.
That is. Because I'm thinking about like if you just stick with your same build through an entire battle royale game, I don't think I would have fun with that.
It'll just get repetitive at some point.
Yeah.
I think randomness does help when you have a single map. It lets you. I think it encourages people to look around and see what else is around in the map itself.
It encourages
That
them
way-
to explore the map, right?
Yeah. In some ways, that's one of the things looking at Fortnite, that's one of the things that I like about the game. How they always change the map up. It just makes it always it's always technically still the same base map.
Mm-hmm.
But they always add new spaces, items, locations. Different areas function differently, just like property-wise. And I find that to be fun to explore and experiment. And it also changes combat in just general gameplay in interesting ways. Recently they had the Halloween event, which was they had these little pillars that brought
Or
zombies into them.
nightmares.
Yeah, I love that because I actually haven't played the non-battle royale mode, but it made me want to try and pick that up because I didn't realize how much I like killing those zombies and building stuff.
I bought it for Save the World. Yeah, just stick with Battle Royale.
Okay, you saved me.
Wait,
I adore tower defense. I adore tower defense, and it's better than it used to be, but they still haven't seemed to decide what they want it to play like.
I find that really funny. Like this super successful thing just can't get its other mode. Like it can't get the shit together there.
That's what happens when you have really smart producers on the development team. Because they basically said, we can make Battle Royale super easily with all our existing assets. All we would need to do is make a network infrastructure. And look at them now.
Right, they own a huge percentage of the world.
Yeah, and that really is what it is they own a huge percentage of total gamers worldwide, not just of this genre.
Right. Do you guys want to move away from Battle Royale? I think we've spoken about it for a little bit. Is there something else? Like, any last thought?
My last thought about Battle Royale is in regards to Fortnite, actually.
Go on.
Do you guys feel that part of Fortnite's success, other than people enjoying its gameplay purely, I mean, I'm unfortunately not one, but other than, like I said, people enjoying its gameplay and how it's free, do you think part of its success comes from how hard its developers and publishers are pushing the game in terms of advertising?
Okay, so do you know what Coca-Cola advertises?
Coca-Cola?
The brand?
Yeah, so it's not to make you hear about Coca-Cola. They assume that basically everyone under the sun has heard of Coca-Cola. It's so you don't stop hearing about Coca-Cola. And that is more or less why Fortnite advertises.
Explain.
I wonder...
Okay, so... You were just talking about all of those changes that are constantly made to Fortnite to make it fresh and interesting, right? Well, let's say you were a huge Fortnite fan, but you stopped playing, let's say about July, just because you got tired of the same old formula over and over again. Well, if you keep hearing about Fortnite, that means you're more likely to pay attention to Fortnite news from the get-go. So you're more likely to know, Fortnite has zombies now. That might be an interesting change, and might want to go and try it again to play that. Whereas if they did not have the advertising, they might be completely oblivious to that.
So now I have a follow-up. How much of the, basically its social capital do you think helps with that? Because it has such a, internet presence, people that make content based off Fortnite or memes based off Fortnite. How do you think that also adds to that experience of never stopping to hear about that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that kind of advertising is more and more important, I feel, for games these days. I argue for most games it's more important than traditional advertising, except for Fortnite, which, for a very particular reason. Most of its core audience is young. And the thing is, for the young audience, having the two-pronged push of conventional advertising for, getting your message of the game out there, and then people online playing it just to get the game itself out there, is key to maintaining young people's interest. Because as much as I hate the stereotypes of young people having short attention spans, when you mean young as in literally young teenagers, that is true. And so keeping it in that zeitgeist is very, very important. I would say it's one of the most important things Fortnite has going for it right now.
Interesting.
I like how you brought up when you brought up how that type of advertisement is way more important or becoming more important, it makes me think of the photo mode for Spider-Man. And how it had huge it has a huge presence. Even still, in some cases, people still show off photos they take of themselves playing the game. It's
absolutely,
it's free advertisement. And
you see how it was built into the design for the game, where one of the main ways you progress in that game is by unlocking different outfits.
Right.
But your point is very true. So I'm a huge Halo fan, and Halo 3 kind of got the head start on most of these franchises by almost a decade in many cases, because it had a map creation mode on console, Forge. It had a video creation mode, Theater, where you could also take pictures as well as videos, and both of those were so key in making that game popular and keeping it popular, because I would make Like, I would make a map, and I would be able to take pictures of it and send it to my friend, who could download it straight off of the invite, and then we could both play it, on his Xbox or online whenever we wanted to. And that was huge. Now that's something almost every game has.